Go ahead. All right, go ahead and try not to drive into the rock over there.
I've had enough of driving into rocks. It's going in to get that fixed before I'm back at Christmas.
Well, the purpose of the drive today is just to let you get to know a little bit about Dan and the travels he's done with his lovely wife in this car.
Up or down?
Yeah, let's go up.
Sure.
Now, well, we could talk a little bit about the technology of this car to start with. It's a straight 6 engine, right?
Yes.
And what's the displacement, Dan?
I really don't know. 300 something cubic inches, I think.
Right.
It's a long bore, almost tractor engine. Goes down to almost no RPM before it changes down.
It's got a lot of torque.
Yeah.
So how long have you had this car for? How many years?
I bought it in 1990.
1990, okay. So that's 28, almost 29 years?
Yeah,
28 years now, okay.
Yes, 29 years.
And obviously it's a right-hand drive car. So it was bought in Great Britain originally, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The first owner that brought it to Penticton in Canada, where I came upon it.
So tell me about the travels that you've done with the car. Where has it been?
Well, it's been through 39 countries, all of the U.S. states except Hawaii, and all of the Canadian provinces, plus the Yukon Territory. It has been through, in total, I've driven it through 39 countries.
39 countries. That's
once around the world, going across Canada to shipped it to England, across Europe, Germany, Poland, Belarus, Russia, across Siberia, turned right at Lake Baikal and across the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, then across China, and it went back home from Shanghai. The other trip was when we went up through Alaska and the Yukon and drove it down the Central America, then down the west coast of South America, crossed the Andes into Argentina, and then further south in Argentina, turned around and came back up the eastern part of the countries through Paraguay and Brazil and Venezuela, Colombia, shipped it over to Panama, and drove it back home.
Well, that's not something you would do every year, doing a major trip, shipping the car. So
each trip for about 4 months.
that's amazing. Now, what would cause you to do something like that, to take one car and travel so far with it? What is it about this car and so on?
Well, I think a lot of people who own these cars just to show them have no idea how tough they are. Between Siberia and the Amazon and so on, this car's been over the roughest roads in the world. And I think if you have toys like this, you should get to play with them. And I'm a traveler, and so why not combine the two?
It's brilliant. It really is. Have you had your rolls up to the resort here at the Westin yet?
No.
Shall we drive into the front entrance and show it off?
Okay, we
See what they think there. It should look grand. Maybe I can take a couple of shots outside the hotel by the fountain.
All right.
Would you like to
pull
do
up
that?
in front and see if anyone comes running out to help us.
All right.
I say I got the 2 o'clock.
There we go. Yeah. Just getting the shot of us pulling in to the hotel. So you've taken this through the Gobi Desert, a Rolls Royce, vintage Rolls Royce through the Gobi Desert.
Yes.
Now, of course, it must have broken down a lot, and so you had to get help everywhere, right? Because it's an old car.
It didn't break it down a lot. On all of its travels, it's never left me standing beside the road. Never.
No, I was kind of joking because Dan's assured me that it's been amazingly reliable and tough.
Yeah. Mind you, when driving across Siberia, where the roads are absolutely horrible, by the time we got to Omsk, nothing electrical worked anymore. Everything had been banged loose or knocked off or whatever.
The roads were that bad?
The roads were that bad. Couldn't use the ignition to start it, but fortunately there's a push button on the side of the engine on these, so you can go directly to the engine and start it that way. But they had a 24-hour service station there that the chief of police took us to, and they repaired everything overnight. What they couldn't get parts for, they manufactured.
That's amazing.
That really is.
Wow.
The Russians are used to not being able to get parts, and they're very self-sufficient.
What about other, let's see, you hit a speed bump in Brazil or something? What was that happened?
Brazil and Mexico are the speed bump countries of the whole world. I was on a highway doing just under 70 miles an hour. This is in miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a unmarked speed bump, and it was huge. Threw the front end of the car into the air, and as soon as the back wheels hit, it slammed the front of it down. Back end went up, trunk flew open, everything was all over the place. We managed to collect everything, put it back. Car ran perfectly, nothing was broken, but it sure got it eaten.
That's a scary moment.
Yeah, it really was. Crazy. It wasn't painted, it wasn't marked, nothing, just there. I suppose the locals know where it is. Well, another interesting drive that we took was back in about 1993. I shipped it over to England to take it back to Rolls so they could tell me what needed to be done. And then we drove it through all of the East Bloc countries that had just been just had the Russians pull out.
Oh, right.
And it was very interesting because nobody had ever seen a car like this. So every time we pulled into a town, the whole town was out there, and pretty soon we'd sit at a table full of beer with all the locals, and they'd find us a place to stay and point to good places to eat and so on and so forth. It was a lot of fun.
Amazing.
I needed to get it up on a hoist to look at something in Dresden, and there wasn't a hoist in the city that could lift it. I had to finally go to a truck dealer because they were not used to anything this heavy.
Really?
They were dealing with the Skodas and the Ladas and this sort of thing, and nobody could get this one off the ground.
Did they try?
Yes.
Oh, they tried.
Well, they all
I
tried.
see.
I tried about 6 different places.
Oh my goodness. Where would you like to go? Do you want to go straight or left?
I don't know where either goes. So.
Well, let's keep going straight. Maybe we'll go through Goldstream or something.
Okay.
You told me that you guys drove all the way from Alaska to Venezuela, was it? No. Argentina?
From Alaska, then over the pass into Canada, the most northern border in the world, border station. And then we drove it down through BC, across the states, down Central America. Shipped it from Costa Rica to Ecuador because, of course, you can't drive through the Darien Gap in Panama.
The which gap?
Darien Gap.
Darien Gap.
Yeah, that's the only thing that cuts the Pan American Island. And then down through Ecuador, Peru, Chile, across the Andes. She had to climb up to about 18,500 feet to do that.
Crazy.
Never a problem. Except it went very slowly.
You lose some power, I guess, right?
Yeah, it was down in the bottom range. Then we went into Argentina, further down Argentina, and back up through Argentina. I avoided the big cities because I'm not interested in getting into the traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And I cut across the end of Paraguay into Brazil. I was having a problem with the leakage in the power steering system. So a member of the Rolls Royce Owners Association recommended a place in Londrina in Brazil, which turned out to be a lovely little city. And they took a week there, and the work that they did was still all working fine. We were all together 5 weeks crossing Brazil. It's a huge country. And
5 weeks?
5 weeks, yeah, counting the week to repair weather. Then that was an interesting thing. Venezuela is very much in the news now.
Yeah.
It was costing us $150 a tank for gas, and that was cut with ethanol in Brazil, and almost no gas stations accepted credit cards because they had a war going against the credit card companies over charges. So I'd heard the gas in Venezuela was cheaper, so I'd let it run pretty much down. We got across the border, and it turned out to get insurance papers and everything, I had to run back and forth to the border into town about 10 miles several times, so I was way below zero on the tire gauge, on the fuel
gauge, yeah.
And so I finally got to a gas station. I changed some money, so they filled it up, and I asked the person how much, and he held up 5 fingers. So I thought he meant 500, because 500 at that time would have been about $75. And the crowd had gathered around the car, is not unusual. The fellow standing beside me, I had a wad of money in my hand, grabbed the money, which kind of gave me a start, but he went through it and he found a 5 Boulevard note. 5 Boulevard is 75 cents. It went from $150 a tank for gas to 75 cents a tank for gas. As a result, you don't find in Colombia or Venezuela a gas station in either of those countries anywhere near the border, because everybody's buying bootleg gas.
Of course.
You can't keep a gas station can't make a living there. The crazy part of it is that the roads in Venezuela, in the part we were in, which was the south of Venezuela, we cut across there to Colombia, were terrible. They're in awful shape.
Well, of course.
I couldn't understand why they. Why don't you double the cost of gas from all the way from 75 cents a tank to $100.50 a tank and fix the ready roads?
I know.
Anyway, didn't happen.
And you traveled through China, right, as well?
Yes, came into China at Aaron Hot out of the Gobi Desert.
And what
it's still desert in China.
Yeah. What year was that?
Like 2007.
2007. So what was it like traveling through a country like China in this thing? Was it?
Oh, great.
Conversation piece as well. The Chinese actually made a big fuss over you there.
Oh,
and make a left here, maybe.
Huge fuss.
Yeah.
Yeah. China was very, very difficult to get the car into, though. I thought I was going to lose the whole trip because I had everything else organized with permits and so on. But you can't import a car into China. I had tried everybody, and everyone said it couldn't be done. You can't come as a tourist with a car. You can't do it. So I phoned the people organizing the Paris to Peking race, which was on that year. They were doing a reenactment of the race of 100 years ago. And I had to import the car into China officially, get Chinese license plates. I had to become a Chinese resident and get a Chinese driver's license.
Oh dear.
And by the way, that's a bit of the Chinese insurance document right there.
Over here.
Yeah, that's still
let me take a.
And they.
Wow.
And then they had to put up a $40,000 bond that I wouldn't sell the car in China. So
what a palaver.
It was.
There's a spirit of adventure associated with it and so on. And
No doubt.
You take it on to a completely different level with not just having traveled to all these countries with this car, but the car itself being so unique and rare, relatively rare.
Well, a lot
That's
of people
wonderful.
say, do you go and organize tours and so on for these things, because some people have difficulty with the concept. But no, my wife Marilyn and I, the two of us, have always just gone on our own, all by ourselves. No particular travel plan. Russia was laid out, and China was laid out through necessity, being communist countries.
Yeah.
But generally, we just wander. And this car has introduced us to so many people who have become friends and have come to visit us, and we visited them again and so on. Amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm going to take some shots of the dashboard now, just to show you what the whole process is. A lot of these knobs and switches are not marked, and I mean, some of them are, but the placement of different controls is completely foreign to anyone who operates a modern car.
Oh, absolutely, yes, yeah. You have to be told what they all are. This is the turn signal.
Turn signal indicator.
It works like an egg timer. It doesn't work off the steering wheel. It works as an egg timer. It just goes click, 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 click. You click and eventually shuts itself off. This is side lights for parking on each side of the car.
Lights and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. This one opens a gas tank.
That's a gas tank. Okay.
Cigarette lighter.
Cigarette lighter. Okay, that's
those guys are marked.
Those are marked. You got lights there, heater, demist, wipers with little arrows, and your center. Well, you've got your center speedometer, odometer here, and then on the left, over right in front of the passenger, you have your
the gauges.
Yeah, you have
the passenger's in charge of making sure your gauges are all correct.
Your oil pressure gauge doesn't work, right?
Well, actually, it does.
Oh, it does.
The problem is they brought out new gauges which are not really compatible with the engine.
Yeah.
I'm told the only way that you can have that right is you actually have to bend the needle inside the gauge, which is a tricky process.
Right.
So I decided not to. When it's cold, lots of oil pressure shows.
But it's not calibrated correctly.
It's running, yeah, exactly.
Right.
So as long as it's not all the way down to the bottom, don't worry about it.
Now these are Smith's gauges. I think I've got the same gauges in the Cobra because it's a replica of
really?
the car. Yeah, because the AC used to have Smith's gauges in it, so they still have Smith's gauges.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and it actually has the speedometer going the opposite way, just like yours does it. Only mine travels over the top.
Okay.
Because North American cars, for some reason, go left to right. The gauge goes left to right, whereas the British ones go right to left.
Must be something to do with driving on the other side of the road.
Well, something like that, yeah. Exactly. And the British toilets flush the other way too, I hear, right? By under law.
Don't think I've run into that, but
no, it's not true, but just thought of that. So what else we got? Yeah, we got water temperature. You've got your clock, Smith's gauge there, oil toe pressure, and this is amperage, your voltage right here. Well, it says amps.
Well, what it is whether you're charging or discharging the battery.
Yeah. Right.
So if your battery gets a drain on it, it's not charging, your generator goes.
It does have a radio here.
Yes, it's shortwave, long wave shortwave.
Long wave shortwave. And then you've got your rear view mirror here, which is on a stock. We've seen those in other cars of that era too. And you've got the little windshield wipers. They're not very big, and the windshield's not terribly large either. And the dashboard is very interesting because you're quite close to the dashboard in this car, as with a lot of older cars. And the top of the dash is very shallow. So
but
it's very different from modern designs.
You can stretch your feet out full length.
Yeah.
Even if you have long legs.
Yeah, indeed.
Tons of leg room. Very comfortable road car for going on these trips of tens of thousands of miles.
Well, on behalf of everybody who's enjoying this video today, I hope, and I trust, I really want to thank Dan for sharing his experience and his wonderful car with all of us. And it's been so nice to meet you.
Well,
Thanks
thank
again.
you, Mark, and I've really enjoyed meeting you anyway. It was a very lucky homestay that we managed to get into. And
we're so grateful to be able to meet interesting and traveled people. And Dan's got a new mechanic working on his car now because this car needs TLC, and so hopefully you got hooked up with a good technician for the fall.
Thank you very much for the
You're very
introduction.
welcome.
I think Simon and I are going to go along just fine.
It's our pleasure. We hope to hear good things, and we'll see this on the road again next year, I hope, in 2019.
Perfect. Yep.
Thanks everyone. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.